You think frugal people are just broke? That's the stereotype, right? Some tightwad hoarding coupons, skipping meals, living this life of restriction and sacrifice. But what if I told you? The most financially free people I know are also the most frugal? Yeah, the quiet millionaires, the early retirees, the ones who take month-long vacations without blinking. They're not always the ones raking in millions per year. They're the ones who've mastered the art of keeping what they earn. And I need you to hear this, because we've all been sold a dream that's kind of broken. We're told the answer is to just make more. Work harder, get the raise, start a side hustle. But no one tells us the truth that's sitting right in front of us. If you can't manage what you have now, more won't fix it. Let me tell you something that hit me like a truck one day. Frugality isn't about depriving yourself. It's about liberation. It's looking around and realizing how much of your stress, your anxiety, your overthinking comes from money slipping through your fingers, just little leaks. Uber Eats, another random Amazon box, a monthly subscription you forgot about. I remember a time when I was making decent money but still living paycheck to paycheck. I was just doing what everyone else does. Grocery shopping without checking prices, grabbing takeout because I was too tired. It didn't feel reckless, but it was eating away at me. And then I started reading, studying people who were living differently, people who had freedom, real freedom, not just fancy cars and big houses, but time, options, calm. And you know what almost all of them had in common? They weren't flashy, they weren't chasing status, they were strategic, they were intentional. They lived below their means, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. I remember reading about this one guy, a millionaire who still drives a 10-year-old Toyota, lives in a modest house, wears simple clothes. You'd never guess he's rich. And when someone asked him why he lives like that, he just said, "Because I like knowing I never have to worry." That hit me. Frugality is power. It's the ability to say no, to resist that pull of consumption, to walk into a store, see all the shiny things calling your name and say, "Nah, I'm good." And it's not about never buying nice things, it's about buying only the nice things that actually matter to you. You're not overspending because you're weak. You're overspending because your spending doesn't align with your actual priorities. You ever sit down and add up how much you spent on food last month? Not groceries, just random eating out, coffee, snacks, quick meals. I did that once and wanted to scream. Hundreds. Not on experiences, not on amazing meals with friends, just random, mindless, forgettable food. And look, this isn't about guilt. I'm not trying to shame you. I've done it all too. But what I want you to feel is curiosity. Like, what would my life look like if I actually got intentional with this? What would it feel like to actually keep $200 more per month? To watch your bank account grow instead of disappear? This is where frugal living becomes exciting. Because it's not about less, it's about more of what matters, more peace, more freedom, more control. And yeah, it starts with some practical shifts, cooking more, canceling unused subscriptions, setting a budget that actually reflects your real priorities. The minute you switch to a value-based mindset, when you start asking, what do I actually care about, the whole thing flips. You realize, I don't need to buy new clothes every month to feel good about myself. I don't need to upgrade my phone just because a new one came out. And when you strip all that away, you're left with something pretty beautiful. You're left with space, with clarity, with options. You start to think, wait, if I keep this up for a few months, what else becomes possible? Could I finally pay off that debt? Could I take a month off next year? Could I actually quit the job that's draining me and find something better because I'm not trapped by bills anymore? This is why frugal living is personal finance's best-kept secret. It's not about being good with money. It's about giving yourself the chance to make better choices, to build, to breathe. And once you taste that kind of freedom, you never want to go back. So if this is starting to resonate, if a part of you is like, okay, maybe this is worth trying, then good. That means you're already on your way. The awareness is the first step. You're starting to see the game behind the game. And the best part, you don't have to change your whole life today. You don't have to become a minimalist monk or delete every app or live on beans and rice. Just start small. That's what I did. One week I started bringing lunch to work. The next I canceled 3 subscriptions I hadn't used in months. Then I made it a game. How many days in a row could I go without spending money on anything unnecessary? It felt like a challenge. Like I was hacking the system, and honestly, I kinda was. Because every dollar I didn't spend became a dollar I got to use. To save, to invest, to breathe. That's the shift, that's the power, and this is just the beginning. So stick with me, because in the next part I'm gonna break down exactly how I started building real financial momentum from simple daily frugal habits, without ever feeling deprived. We're gonna talk about mindset shifts, creative ways to save, and how to actually enjoy this process so it doesn't feel like punishment. This is about building a life that feels good, not just looks good. And I promise, it's so much closer than you think. So, once I started seeing those small wins stack up, like actually keeping more of my paycheck instead of watching it vanish, I realized something kind of wild. Frugality wasn't just about saving money, it was about control. Not in a rigid, spreadsheet-obsessed kind of way, but in this calm, steady kind of power. Like I wasn't just reacting to life anymore. I was driving. And here's the truth most people never realize. Once you get intentional with your money stops being the boss. You do. Let's talk about habits. Because honestly, frugal living has almost nothing to do with deprivation, and everything to do with rhythm. You're not trying to become a different person overnight, you're just trying to shift the rhythm you're living in. And the easiest way to do that? Start with the stuff that feels almost too simple to matter. I'm serious. There was a time I would scoff at the idea that bringing coffee from home or meal prepping could actually make a difference. I thought, what's a few bucks? That's not gonna change my life. But when I actually tracked it, like really tracked it, I realized I was spending close to $300 a month on little things. Little things that didn't feel like anything in the moment. A $6 coffee here, a $12 burrito there, a few snacks at the gas station, a spontaneous DoorDash order because I didn't feel like cooking. It adds up, quietly, invisibly. And here's where it gets interesting. Once I stopped spending on those things, not forever, just more consciously, I didn't feel this gaping hole in my life. I didn't feel deprived, I just felt aware. It's like I was waking up from a money fog. So here's what I started doing. Instead of trying to stop everything cold turkey, I gave myself limits. I called it fun spending with rules. I could still grab takeout, but only once a week, and it had to be a meal I really wanted, not just lazy eating. I could buy clothes, but only if I sold or donated something first. I gave myself this rule: one in, one out. Buy a book, donate one. Want new shoes? Cool, but only if I actually wear them regularly. It sounds small, but those little rules added up fast. And the funny part? I started enjoying my purchases more. When you're not buying constantly, everything you do buy feels more intentional, more satisfying. And that's the sneaky upside of frugal living that nobody talks about. You actually enjoy your life more. When you stop flooding your world with random purchases, it gets quiet, and in that quiet you get clarity. You start asking better questions like, what do I really want? Instead of, what's on sale? And here's another shift that made a huge difference. I started measuring purchases not just in dollars but in time. Like, okay, this $60 dinner, that's how many hours of my life. Once you frame it like that, it's a game changer. Suddenly I was way more selective. Not out of guilt, but out of respect. Respect for my time, my energy, my future. That's what frugality gives you. It rewires your brain to respect yourself in a deeper way. Am I spending in a way that lines up with the life I want? That question became my filter. If the answer was no, I paused. The more I said no to random stuff, the more I could say yes to the big stuff. That concert with friends? Easy yes. A last-minute trip when flights went on sale? No stress. Buying something high quality that I knew would last? Done. That's the irony. When you live frugally, you actually get to live richer. Not in stuff, but in choice. And I get it. Maybe you're watching this thinking, I've tried budgeting before, it never sticks. Most budgeting advice is trash because it treats you like a robot. Just track everything, cut your spending, follow this formula. But we're not robots, we're human. So here's a better approach. Build systems that remove friction. I set up a split deposit so a percentage of every paycheck goes straight into a savings account I don't touch. It's invisible. I don't have to think about it. I call it paying my future self first. Then I gave every dollar a job. Groceries, covered, rent, covered, fund money also covered, but with limits. And you know what happened? My spending stopped feeling chaotic. That's what a frugal life actually looks like. Structure that creates freedom. I know frugal living isn't sexy, it's not flashy, you're not gonna see it plastered all over Instagram, but you will see it in your peace of mind, in your options, in your bank account at the end of the month. You can still enjoy life, still grab the coffee, still splurge on something you love. The difference is now, you'll be doing it on purpose, not out of habit, not out of boredom, not out of impulse. So if you're still with me, here's your next step. Do a 7-day awareness challenge. Track your spending for just 1 week without judgment. Every time you spend, write it down. That's it. Because awareness is the foundation. You can't change what you don't see. And I promise by the end of the week you'll notice patterns. You'll start to see where your money is leaking. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the spark. That's where it begins. This is a new way of thinking, a way of living that puts you back in control. And I can't wait to show you how deep it goes. Stay with me. Alright, so you've made it this far, which already says a lot. Most people don't stick around for conversations about money. It makes them uncomfortable. But not you. You're still here. That means something's clicking. Maybe it was how often you hit add to cart without thinking. Maybe it was the subscriptions you forgot you were even paying for. That voice, don't ignore it. That's not guilt. That's growth. It means you're waking up. And yes, that sounds like a Marie Kondo episode, but hear me out. It works. Because just like your closet gets stuffed with things you don't wear, your finances get cluttered with things you don't need. Unused memberships, bank accounts with no purpose, auto renewals that eat away your cash every single month. So here's the move. Go on a financial purge. 1 evening, 1 hour, log into everything. Cancel what doesn't serve you. I did this once while eating leftovers on a Wednesday night, canceled 4 subscriptions I hadn't touched in 6 months. Just like that, I was saving over $60 a month. And the best part? It felt like a win. Immediate dopamine, zero pain. It's such a simple action, but it starts to shift your identity. You stop being someone who tries to budget and start becoming someone who owns their money. And that identity shift, that's where real, lasting change happens. Because when you see yourself as someone in control, someone who's intentional, you start behaving like that person. You stop feeling like money is something happening to you. You start realizing it's something you get to direct. So let's talk about structure, because this is where frugality starts feeling effortless. I'm talking about routines, habits, automation. You don't need to sit down every week with spreadsheets and calculators. You just need a system that does the heavy lifting for you. Here's what I set up, and it changed everything. Every month on payday, my money automatically moves. A chunk to savings, a chunk to bills, a chunk to my guilt-free fun fund. No overthinking, no willpower needed, just flow. Because when your systems are solid, you don't need discipline, you need setup. That's what most people miss. They try to rely on motivation, but motivation fades, systems stick. And once you've got that, you start building momentum. Your bank balance grows without trying. You check your savings and smile, because it's actually there. You stop feeling the dread at the end of the month and start feeling possibility. And look, this doesn't mean you'll never splurge or mess up. You will. I still do. Last month I impulse bought an overpriced candle I absolutely didn't need. No regrets, it smelled like vacation. But here's the key difference. When your baseline habits are strong, the occasional splurge doesn't derail you. Because frugal living isn't about perfection, it's about resilience. You build a life where the default is smart. And when you do that, you give yourself the freedom to bend without breaking. So let's zoom out for a second. Why does any of this matter? Why care about frugal living at all? Because underneath the tips, the hacks, the habits, it's really about one thing: freedom. Freedom from stress, freedom from paycheck to paycheck survival, freedom from wondering if you can afford opportunities. Frugal living gives you that, not by being restrictive, but by being smart. It teaches you to ask, what do I really value? And then align your money with that answer. So, if you love travel, cut the stuff you don't care about so you can go. If you want more time with your kids, spend less so you can work less. If your dream is to start something of your own, frugality gives you the runway. That's the power of this mindset. It's not about pinching pennies, it's about building options. And once you taste that, there's no going back. You don't miss the random spending. Because you're getting something deeper. Peace, confidence, autonomy, and that's priceless. So here's how I want to end this. Start small, but start now. Don't wait for the perfect system, don't wait until you feel ready. Just pick one thing from this video and do it today. Maybe you cancel 2 subscriptions. Maybe you set up an automatic transfer to savings. Maybe you do the 7-day awareness challenge. Whatever it is, move. Because motion builds momentum. And once that momentum kicks in, everything changes. You're no longer just thinking about being better with money. You are. You're living it, breathing it, owning it. And if you want help staying on track, hit subscribe. I drop videos like this every week. Real talk, real strategies, no fluff. Drop a comment and tell me, what's one thing you're cutting this week? Or what's one win you've already had? I'll be in the comments cheering you on, answering questions, and probably oversharing my own frugal fails. Because we're in this together. Remember, your life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by change. And that change, it starts with you. Today. Let's build that freedom, one smart decision at a time. You've got this.